Going on YouTube, Global here, back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're heading back into Pokemon Showdown to do a little bit of team building today, and we're focusing on this trio here of Miraidon, Terapagos, and Sinistcha over here. So this is a trio that has had some results in some recent regionals in regulationI, and I believe it's one of those underrated archetypes that can do very, very well. In fact, Miraidon and Terapagos have won big grassroots tournaments overall here, but this is a trio that not too many people have respected all that much, and you don't really see a whole lot of coverage in terms of video content on this trio, but we're going to cover it today because I think it's actually quite interesting in how these three can work together relatively well. And of course, we're going to round out the rest of the slots here, as we build the squad here. But Miraidon Terapagos, first of all, why does this duo work here? Because when you think about it on paper, there's a little bit of anti-synergy, right? Because when you terrestrialize your Terapagos, you're just blowing up your own Miraidon terrain. Why would you do that? Okay, but when you understand one of the toolkits that Miraidon has, you understand, oh, okay, this actually can work and it can make sense a little bit here. And what I mean by that is you're gonna have Snarl here, but more importantly, you're going to have Volt Switch. So the idea is this: yes, you can blow up your terrain when you terrestrialize the Pagos here, but that's okay because when you just click Volt Switch on Miraidon, you're out of the picture anyway, and then you can just reset your terrain later on if you have to. But sometimes you just need to really terrestrialize the Pagos and just go for broke with the Tera Starstorm, right? And that's okay because when Miraidon is pivoting in and out with Volt Switches, that's good news for you because you're gonna get some flexibility with your turns, and then you'll keep your opponent on their toes, because you don't know if they're gonna go for the Volt Switch or the Electro Drift or whatnot. And Pagos is okay with that because now what you can do is when you click Volt Switch, now you can go into your Sinistcha and activate Hospitality, and then you can heal your Terapagos back to full health, and then potentially get back its ability, in the turn that you don't terrestrialize it, right? So that's really, really good. And then at the same time, think about Terapagos' weaknesses, right? Fighting coverage, right? So stuff like Urshifu Close Combat or Zamazenta Body Press. You don't like that as a Terapagos player, but if you have a Redirector that is a Ghost type, now all of a sudden they can't click that move here, right? And that's really where the Sinistcha can come into play here. So when you have access to something like Rage Powder, this is going to protect the Terapagos from those fighting type attacks here. So there's some good synergy here, not only with the redirection support, but also with the healing. So this way you can get your ability back. And then, when you think about it as well, the Pagos on these teams, they are running Calm Mind, okay, along with Protect. And then they have the Electric Seed here. So when you have the Pagos and the Miraidon terrain, now all of a sudden you're getting that defense boost. And then you're combining this with the special defense boost that you're getting with Calm Mind, and then you combine this with the healing and the redirection from the Sinistcha. All of a sudden the Terapagos becomes relatively hard to break, and this becomes your win condition on the Miraidon kind of team here, right? So good synergy with Volt Switch and Sinistcha, right? And then at the same time, Terapagos has good synergy with Sinistcha, just overall in general, from the fighting coverage there, right? And sometimes, you could even just pivot in the Sinistcha into Miraidon as a partner and heal your Miraidon back, and then all of a sudden Miraidon, might be hard to break here, especially if they're running stuff like the Assault Vest, where now all of a sudden you're super bulky on the special defense end, and we'll show you those builds in a second. But, I just wanted to explain the theory, just as far as why these three have somewhat of a pretty decent solid synergy with each other there. And then if you add Trick Room here, okay, that means you can run your Terapagos relatively slow. And then against the hyper offensive teams, you're in a good spot here because when you click Trick Room, now all of a sudden the Pagos will be going first and could sweep, the other sweepers like, a Calyrex or another Miraidon, for example, right? So, if you run Trick Room, great. But usually these are going to have a Sash, with Protect here, but they don't always necessarily need to run Sash. They could run stuff like, Rocky Helmet, for example, and, be relatively bulky with their EV spreads instead of just going for a simple 253 set with the Sash here. But at the very least, they're going to have Rage Powder here. They'll have Shadow Ball. Okay, you got to have one attack at least, right? And then this last move here is up for grabs. We'll show you potential options for this. But you can run something like, Trick Room here, or you could definitely run something like Strength Sap, right? And then just get healing back that way, lowering attack stat, you know, keeping Terapagos relatively healthy, because what you're doing now is you're reducing more physical damage. And then if this is still going for Calm Minds for special defense boost, again, the Terapagos is just, you know, staying on the field and then just not dying, right? So, you know, definitely some ideas there with strength step here. Now, in terms of the rest of the team, most commonly you'll see stuff like this where you'll have the Incineroar and the Urshifu here. This is going to round out your Fire, Water, Grass core, and you know, fake out pressure is always good with Terapagos. You'll often lead, you know, stuff like Incineroar and Terapagos, where you can go for fake out Calm Mind, and then at the same time, if you have Parting Shot, right, this is how you're going to pivot. You know, just reduce more damage, pivot in Sinistcha, for example, or you could even pivot in the Miraidon, get that defense boost going, and just go from there, right? So the key with this is that you have a lot of pivot potential on this team here, especially on the Urshifu end, because usually if they are Scarf or if this is a banned Urshifu, you have U-turn, same idea, right? And if this is an Assault Vest Incineroar, for example, which some of them are, you also have U-turn here. So you have 1, 2, 3 Pokemon that can pivot in and out, and this is how you're going to get the Sinistcha healing ability going. This is how you're also going to be able to get the Miraidon in and activate the Electric Seed on it, and you know, just go from there. So good ideas here. And then usually this offensive mon is usually the Iron Treads here. Where are you, Iron Treads? Yeah, there we go. So this is great into the mirror matchup, and sometimes this will run a rock move, something like, you know, Rock Slide or Stone Edge here, for example. Where are you, Stone Edge? Yeah, because you kind of need this for Volcarona, right? Because otherwise, sometimes you're going to have a hard time dealing with it, because, you know, if Volcarona is able to get those Quiver Dances going, then you're going to have to, like, match it with Pagos, and same thing with Miraidon. It's going to be somewhat hard to deal with, right? Yes, you have Snarl, but just in terms of breaking it. And if they have Struggle Bug, that's not good for you either, right? So you're going to want a Rock move here, and Iron Treads can do that. Yes, you have Urshifu with the Water move, but if you get burned, it's not great either. But I do like the fact that we can run Stone Edge or Rock Slide on the Iron Treads here, you know, just for that matchup here. And then Iron Treads is like your fast mode here, where you can get the boost from the terrain and just go from here. Usually this will either have the band or it'll have the Life Orb item, and that's fine too. And we're gonna show you how, like, this 6, you know, can run so many different sets, okay? And then that'll affect the way you play, right? Because again, this can have either the Scarf or the Assault Vest. This is the one thing that doesn't change, right? You know, Terra, Starstorm, Earth Power, Calm Mind, Protect, this won't change, right? This can have either Trick Room, right, or Strength Sap, okay? And this will either have the Focus Sash, okay, or it'll run something relatively bulky and we'll have something like a Rocky Helmet, all right? And then the Incineroar, if this is running the Scarf, then you can run Assault Vest here. Otherwise, you know, you can still run Rocky Helmet over here, right, if this is going with the Focus Sash, okay? And then at the same time, you know, you could have either the Parting Shot set with Will-O-Wisp, or you can have the Assault Vest set with Flare Blitz and U-turn, right? It really just depends on how you want to play the Incineroar. And then same thing here with the Urshifu. This could have the Band, the Scarf, you know, up to you. And then, like I said over here, Band or Life Orb are potential items on the Treads. So very flexible in terms of the items and movesets here. And we'll show you different samples here. We'll build 2 teams, but at the very least, I still want to examine, you know, some of the more established squads from the, you know, Victory Road tournaments, as well as looking at some teams from Lab Mouse, where we can track this 6 and see where you know, people have taken this squad here. And then at the same time, you know, you don't have to also run the Urshifu. I've seen this work with the Ogerpon Wellspring. It helps a little bit, you know, in some Kyogre cases, or even against like another Urshifu for that matter. If you want to play that way, great. It'll give you another redirector on the team to try and set up the Calm Mind, so that also works. But we're going to build 2 variations of this 6. So this way you can try it out yourself, and then, you know, you can make adjustments accordingly. But at the very least, I want to still give you that starting point where you can, you know, do relatively, or, you know, jump into ladder and start testing this archetype immediately, right? So like I said, you've got Fake Out Pressure here, you've got redirection, and maybe some speed control over here to try and set up the Calm Mind. You've got a lot of pivot here, you know, with Incin, Miraidon, and Urshifu potentially going for U-turns, right? So and then you still have instant offense, you know, with Miraidon and / Iron Treads here. Okay, so that being said, let's take a look at some of these squads and let's see how they're built, and then we'll build our own with full EVs and show you a couple test games. All right, let's look at a more recent Victory Road July challenge, right? This was from the previous weekend, from the 12th and the 13th, 240 plus players. Again, very, very big turnout. And you can see this archetype here. Where is it? You have to scroll down just a little bit, but it did have a result over here. No, oh yeah, there we go. So 31st place here, 6-3 record from Gustavo. This is the same 6 that we just spoke about here. And also this Volcarona variant. We'll speak about this one in a second. But here we are. So Pagos Miraidon. So this is the Assault Vest variant for Miraidon. So it's going to be relatively bulky, probably slow as well. Probably not as much speed investment as you would like. But again, it's meant to play super bulky, right? This is Culver Cloak Incineroar, which is pretty cool because again, if you're going against like the mirror with Incin versus Incin, Culver Cloak is really going to help you there. And you've got U-Turn over here. So pretty cool. I would imagine this is still like an impish set. There we go, right there. Shadow Ball, Rage Powder, Trick Room. And Protect. So you do have the slow mode speed control on this, and I like that. And when we show you the test games, we'll just show you exactly how Trick Room was able to win us the game, right? Iron Treads here, it's a band set, high horsepower, Rock Slide, Ice Spinner, and Steel Roller, right? So Ice Spinner, again, able to, you know, do well against potential mirror matchups against another Miraidon. You can blow up Indeedee terrain this way. You can blow up Rillaboom terrain as well. And then Urshifu here, it doesn't run the fighting coverage here. That's okay, you don't necessarily need it. You have Surging Strikes, Aqua Jet, and Taunt along with the Mystic Water set here, so you're still able to deal pretty good damage. I would imagine it's a slow set, you know, if you're going to run Trick Room on this. So I don't think this is like 252 full speed investment. I would imagine this is a bulkier set, and that's okay. That's how you want to play this, you know, if you're going to run Trick Room on the Sinistcha over here. So I like this. Now, if we go into back into Victory Road here, you don't have to run the Sinistcha here. You can definitely run stuff like Amoonguss and the Electric Seed Volcarona. But now look at the Pagos. This is a Power Herb Terapagos here, where you're not really looking to set it up here. You're still going to get the +1 coming from something like a Meteor Beam, so you can go for like the kill right away on something like an Incineroar, for example, and then just, you know, keep the +1 that way. And Volcarona is actually your win condition here, where you're going for the Quiver Dances on this Pokemon instead, right? And this is a Scarf Miraidon set. You know, Amoonguss can come here, you know, combined with Assault Vest Instant, your defensive backbone, and we're looked to set up the Volcarona, whereas these guys are your more instant offense type of Pokemon, right? So you can definitely play it like that. Otherwise, if you go into 2 weeks ago in the July challenge before the one we just spoke about, that was actually the winning team here from Nawarich. So aka My Stars. So same squad here. So, you know, that person took My Stars' team and was able to utilize that in the next VR tour, right? Because this was the winning team. So you can definitely look and explore that variant, right? But we like the Sinistcha variant because it was the more common one. But don't be surprised if you see the Volcarona idea at the end of the day. All right, so if you scroll down, there wasn't really much else of that idea, right? Because again, it's a relatively niche archetype, but it can still do well. Here's the one where it did do well again, 7-3 result, which is again still very good. But now look at this idea. Look, this is Rain Dance Urshifu here, okay? And we have a test game where the Rain Dance actually does matter, and usually you're going to use this against the Miraidon teams, where you can take away photosynthesis, you know, from stuff like Raging Bolt, Flutter Mane, and, you know, potentially a Walking Wake, right? So remove their speed boost, remove their special attack boost, and, you know, that'll give you the advantage there. And this is also still a Sinistcha with Trick Room here, not necessarily Strength Sap. This is Rocky Helmet Incin, and that's fine too. And this is Band Treads with high horsepower Iron Treads Stone Edge Steel Roller, right? So there's that rock coverage again, like we spoke about. And this is still AV Miraidon here, where, you know, which is fine because if you don't run the Scarf here, then you can run AV and then that means you can run the Scarf on the Urshifu instead here, right? So I like this too. And of course the Terapagos doesn't change. So same 6, just different ideas in terms of setting it up, right? But we're going to show you more variants, right? But to do that, we're going to use Lab Mouse. All right, so now we're going to head back into the Lab Mouse to see a couple more sample builds and see what other people have done in the past here. So look at Francesco Pero. So he's actually played this a lot. You can see he brought this to two events, not only in Bologna earlier, but also at NAIC, where he got 5th place there. So shout outs to Francesco here. Well, let's look at his Bologna squad first before we look at his NAIC, just because this is the variation that he was using first. So it's AV Miraidon, right, with the same moves that we spoke about already. Terra Electric, Iron Treads here, has high horsepower, Iron Head, Ice Spinner, Steel Roller. Okay, no rock move there. So maybe there was an adjustment potentially, yeah, you know, just for that Volcarona matchup, maybe, right? This one is Strength Sap, Sinistcha, no Trick Room here, but again, you can get away with this. And it is the same Pago set that we've said. This is Rocky Helmet Incin, and it's Iron Valiant here, but now no Wide Guard here. Instead, it's Close Combat with Spirit Break and Disable, which is pretty cool, right? You know, next to Pagos, where you can disable potential fighting moves against the Terapagos here, or disable something else, right? If you really need to, and then you still have Spirit Break coverage to reduce special attack damage, right? All pretty good and fine. And again, all the reduction here coming from Incin. Like we said here, combined with Calm Mind, the Pagos becomes relatively hard to break. So this is pretty cool when you look at that. Then look at this. He swapped out the Valiant for the Urshifu here, and this is where the Rain Dance came into play, right? The Scarf Rain Dance, and this is where people, you know, were using that in Victory Road here, and this was the adaptation. But no rock move here still. But you know, if you don't want to run it, you don't have to run it. I just think it's relatively useful to have that rock coverage on the Iron Treads here. But this is, again, the adaptation that Francesco did at NAIC, still running with Strength Sap on the Sinistcha. Again, all that reduction, you know, just keeping the Pagos and as well as Miraidon relatively bulky. They're both going to be hard to break here, because you have all this physical reduction coming from Incin and the Strength Sap Sinistcha, along with Parting Shot. So, you know, all in all, we're just relying on the longevity of these Mons, where we can stay on the field and deal damage, or potentially just set up for the end game where they just cannot break you when it's all said and done. So nice job there from Francesco, super cool. All right, Thomas Irwin, again, also similar success. He got 13th with a similar idea, but like I said earlier, you can definitely play it's loading here. You can definitely play this, you know, with the Ogre Pawn Wellspring. Look at this. Again, same concept here with Strength Sap over Trick Room. This is Iron Head Treads, but no Protect. So that's pretty cool. But you got Knockoff on the Iron Treads. And you got Terapagos just in case you're vulnerable to Fake Out. Yes, it makes sense here. This is the Scarf Miraidon. So now what you can do is you can set its EVs where you can outspeed stuff like, you know, Scarf Chiyu. And then that'll let you outspeed by nature the Caloric Shadow Rider, obviously. Which means you probably don't have too much investment in speed, but you have more investment into bulk, just like Assault Vest, but for different reasons, right? Assault Vest EV spread for bulk, whereas, you know, Choice Scarf EV spread, you're still going to be bulky, but you're still going to be fast at the same time, right? Because you have that multiplier to your speed stat here. And then Incin is still relatively same here with the Rocky Helmet set. And Taunt Ogre Pawn Wellspring as opposed to Taunt Urshifu is still fine, right? But look at this. You got Fake Out, double redirection here to try and set up the Calm Mind. This is all pretty cool. All right. Then as we scroll down here, look at Sebastian here with a similar concept here from Bologna. Again, Life Orb here on the Iron Treads with Rock Tomb. So a little bit of speed control there with Protect. This is AV Miraidon. This is Taunt Urshifu as opposed to Taunt the Ogre Pawn Wellspring, but same idea. But now look at this Sinistcha set. So no Protect this time. We do want Trick Room, but we also have Life Dew here. So manual healing after you're able to come out with Hospitality, and you know, you can heal your Pagos this way. So if you want to run Sinistcha like this, you can definitely do that. Just understand, you know, your vulnerability a little bit to Sinistcha. But again, it's fine. You've got 1, 2, 3 Protects on your team. It's totally doable here. How about Nick Williams over here? Do you have a similar idea at NAIC? Okay, Taunt, Aqua Jet, Surging Strike. No fighting move here. Strength Sap, no, and okay, no rock move there. All right, so that's fine too. All right, as we keep scrolling down here, how about the St. Jude VGC charity tournament? That was another big tournament. Grassroots, of course, on Limitless. Look at this one here. Scarf Miraidon instead of AV. Knockoff Iron Treads here. Pagos, same set. Ogre Pawn has Taunt. Sinistcha with Strength Sap, no Trick Room. Still fine, okay? So, again, lots of different ways to mix and match this. It really just depends on you and how you want to play it. I'm just trying to look at some other builds here. This one has a Scream Tail here. Okay, you know, you can definitely run it like this if you want. Trick Room, Rage Powder, Shadow Ball, Protect, okay. And play, and then, you know, Encore disable stuff. Yeah, that works, sure. If you want to play like that, okay, totally fine. I just think Urshifu is still like a really, really cool mon to have here. I think I'll just look at one more here. Find one result. AV again, Rain Dance. Okay, you know, we're getting the picture here, you know, but again, you can run the AV Incineroar here. I still think that also can make sense here. I think, no, this is still like also the same idea, right? But we'll show you that build too. Oh, this one's a little bit more aggressive. Hold on a second. Look at this right here. This one has Whimsicott here with Fake Tears. Okay, so you could definitely run this too, right? So you can have Iron Hands here, right? So you still have Miraidon, Pagos, Sinistcha, Incin, okay, coming here with Iron Hands. That's fine. Instead of the Iron Treads, that is also fine. That'll give you some stability in the Trick Room matchup a little bit, right? Because you don't have Trick Room on your Sinistcha here, but instead you have Whimsicott with Fake Tears, right? That's going to support the Miraidon and the Pagos relatively well. So this way, you don't have to waste time so much, you know, with the Calm Mind setup. So you can definitely run something like this. I think it's also pretty cool. All right, but I think we've seen enough. I think we understand how we're supposed to build and play this. So let's go back into Showdown and let's, you know, round out the team and slap on some EVs. Okay, so let's go back here and we'll start with the Assault Vest Miraidon set first. You know, I think the bulky variant is still like pretty cool. Right, and then the second build we'll show you is going to be the Scarlet variant, right? And we'll show you how the EVs change a little bit there. But anyway, you're still gonna have Electro Drift, right? Snarl, Volt Switch, and the Draco Meteor Nuke, right? And then the Pagos, the set doesn't change, you know, no matter what kind of variant you're gonna run. The Sinistcha, I'm going to keep Trick Room on this, okay? If you like Strength Step, you could definitely run with Strength Step, but I myself like Trick Room. Instant, we'll keep this as a Rocky Helmet set for now, right? Because we have the AV on the Miraidon, so we're gonna have Fake Out, you know, U-Turn, Knockoff, Fake Out, Knockoff, actually Parting Shot, and Will-O-Wisp. So more reduction here, and then the Urshifu, we'll put the Scarf on this, right? Since we don't need to put the Scarf on the Miraidon, and you know, this will be Surging Strikes, Close Combat, U-Turn, and Rain Dance is pretty cool, right? You know, we'll show you the test game in a second, but again, you're not going to be clicking this all that often, but it's good to have, you know, against some of those Sun Koraidon teams that you will run into against, right? So we'll leave it there. And then that's also going to help, you know, your Sinistcha just overall. Like when you can click Rain Dance and then, you know, just Rage Powder against the fire attack and live, that's also going to be useful there. Right? Yes, I understand you have a Sash, but still. All right, anyway, the Iron Treads here. So we'll go Band here instead, right? Choice Band. We'll go like super offensive on this. We'll have High Horsepower, Steel Roller. Of course, those are going to be your two always there moves. Then I still like, what's it called? I still like Stone Edge. I think Stone Edge is a good rock move there. Now, if you like Rock Slide in that slot, you can definitely go with Rock Slide. I still think that's okay. And in this last move here, you can have Knockoff. Right, I think that's also fine, or you can still have the Ice Attack here in Ice Spinner. So up to you, whatever you want. But I'll put Ice Spinner for now. But if you like Knockoff or something else in that slot, that's totally fine. But I still want to at least show you something in terms of, you know, what we're going to start with here. So this is it. This is the 6th. We'll go Terra Fire here on the Sinistcha. Instant, we're gonna go Terra Bug here, right? You know, resist the fighting moves here. Urshifu. We can keep this as like, you know, Stellar or Terra Water for that matter. I think it's okay. If you want to go Ghost Terra, you can definitely do that. And the Treads, this one we will actually go Terra Ghost on this side over here, right? So anyway, that's it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to Miraidon here and we'll slap on some EV spreads here. All right, so with Miraidon, you know, we don't have to do anything like too complicated or too crazy. We can just choose a couple benchmarks in terms of our defensive calcs. And then just set yourself a basic speed here. So we're going to go Assault Vest, so we're going to be relatively slow. You know, we have Trick Room on the team anyway. So I think just going to about 157 is going to be good. That's going to outspeed the Timid Kyogres, right? They kept at 156, so 1 point faster than them. Then we'll go full HP investments. Of course, you know, we are a relatively bulky Miraidon set. 12 defense is enough to survive the Adamant 36 Glacial Lance from a Calyrex Ice Rider. That's like, if not arguably the most common EV spread for them right now. You know, they're going to be running like the Leech Seed sets. They're going to have, you know, a lot more special defense because they want to survive, you know, the Astro Barrage Life Orb set from the Calyrex Shadow Rider. So they're going less bulk there. And if you run into Adamant 116, that's still like a favorable roll for you, but the 36 one is the most common one there. So we'll calc for that. Then, you know, we'll just go to the third benchmark here. I think it's at 198. Yep, here it is. Here's the third bump here. If you're trying to play competitive Pokemon, if you're trying to understand, you know, how to create EV spreads like this, make sure you comment below asking what are EV bumps. I will reply and respond to you. But we made a whole video on this, you know, just going through a couple examples of what are EV bumps. So if you look in the video description below, we have a pinned YouTube link where we did make a video on what are EV bumps. So make sure to give that a watch. But otherwise, if you still want something like a little bit more written in terms of an answer, ask below what are EV bumps and I'll answer you here. But we'll go 2 points more just to have a nice solid 200 stat here. And then the special defense here, we'll just dump the rest, you know, the leftovers in there. Nice solid even number, which is what we want here for the Assault Vest. A little bit more optimal, because if this is an odd number like this times 1.5 will give you a decimal, and then decimals always round down. We don't want to round down our bulk. We always want to have it solid and a nice whole number there. So this way we get the best bang for our buck with the AV here. All right. Now, if I show you a couple damage calcs here, just from the damage calculator, like I said before, Adamant 36, we do live the Glacial Lance here, right? The highest roll that they'll get is the 95%. So we're good there. But if you also look at Calyrex Shadow Rider, right? Let's go Glass Cannon with the Life Orb here. This is pretty cool too, right? Where we can also live these. Look how bulky Assault Vest Miraidon is, bro. Like, let's say it goes for a +2 nasty plot here, right? And you have the Life Orb anyway. That's still not killing this AV Miraidon set, by the way. You're going to live Astro Barrage and Psychic. And let's say they pick up a KO somewhere else. So now they go to +3. And you have the favorable damage roll there as well, right? 6.3% chance. So this is a pretty good spread here that I want to have as far as like a starting point for my Miraidon if I'm going to test something like this. So we'll leave it as it is. I think it's good for what we're trying to do. Terapagos here. So, you know, again, just like we said earlier, you know, we are going for Trick Room here. So we don't really need speed on this Terapagos. We're going to go modest. So this way we can have, you know, decent damage coming out from our Terra Starstorms and Earth Powers here. But, you know, as far as like special defense, again, I will also keep it at an even number here because, again, Calm Mind Optimization +1. We want a nice solid even number here. HP stat, probably 192, you know, just in case they, you know, people want to bring the Rillabooms into the Miraidon matchup. So we'll go for Grassy Terrain Recovery, factor of 16. You know, you can always go for 176 or you can go for 192, right? After this, the next benchmark is 208, but we can't reach that far. So we'll settle with 192 here. And that means we've got about 320 EVs left to play with in terms of our set. So let's look at some benchmarks here. Here's the first one, 116. We can go another 80 more, right? If we so choose, right? But I think also just having enough bulk, maybe something like this for like the Urshifu close combats and the Zamazenta body presses. I think this is already okay. And then after that, we can just kind of leave the rest here into special attack. So I think this is always relatively solid. If I go into the damage calc, I want to show you some of these rolls. Yeah, so right here, this is the Urshifu damage calc. So look at this. Let me take everything away for a second. So let's say he's just straight up Urshifu, Adamant 252. Let's say I've taken some chip damage. You know, I don't have my ability already, right? The close combat is just absolutely going to annihilate me, right? You know, he's going to have a very favorable roll. If I go to +1 here, that's going to work out. You know, I am going to survive this close combat here. But if he Terras, right, Terra Stellar, right? And I'm still going to live this, right? So I still get the 6.3 roll, which is exactly what I want. So, you know, just leaving it like this is already okay. And this was already like a good leftovers EV spread anyway. So once you go here, I can live the close combat if he's Stellar, Terras, and if I have the Electric Seed roll, then that's it. And then I can just dump the rest here into special attack. And that's really all I want out of my Pagos here, right? Just to be able to live that, right? And this can also, you know, do justice against Zamazenta body press. You can definitely live that as well if you're already chipped, right? So as you just need the +1 boost from the physical defensive department here, right? Sinistcha, so this is going to be our Sash Sinistcha set over here. So you don't really need a whole lot going on here. You can probably just max the HP. You can definitely go modest if you really want to. Or, you know, you can go for like a bulkier set here where you can just have 1 point in special attack and just go full on special defense. Otherwise, if you're trying to do a little bit more damage with your Shadow Ball, you can definitely do something like this and just close it out like that. You don't need any speed on this Sinistcha, obviously, right? You're going for Trick Room here, but I just think it's already like okay. Otherwise, you can definitely take away EVs over here, and you can probably invest more into defense here. But I think just, you know, something to jump onto ladder with. This is like okay. You know, I just literally slapped this on and just went into games and it was like fine, right? So, you know, it feels weird just to have like one, you know, attack for, you know, your full modest investment here, but that's still like okay. You know, you have the sash anyway, so it's like fine. All right, the Incin with the Rock Helmet set, we can still go the Impish way, right? Just go, you know, 252, 188 here, you know, for the favorable Urshifu rolls, and some of the non-max defensive Zamazentas will have 1 point in the attack stat here, 1 point in the speed, potential mirrors, and then just dump the rest here into Spadef. The Urshifu here, we can just easily go Adamant 252 on this one, right? And then just have 1 point in the HP stat for, you know, that 176 Grassy Terrain recovery here. And I think this is okay for a Scarf Ursh set. Then same thing here with the Iron Treads. We can go Jolly here, right? And then just max out, you know, attack and speed here. And that'll be like, okay, right? So what's also pretty cool is the 173 stat, right? Your Iron Treads will be faster than the Scarf Chiyus, right? Because again, you're going to have the speed boost, right? Because of the Court Drive and terrain, and if you need to remove the Chiyu first, you have the pressure to do that with the treads here. So just be mindful of that. Otherwise, you can always just go, you know, you can even just go like 172 just actually no, you're gonna keep this at max speed here, right? But that's it, right? So we got the Ghost Tera, Bug Tera. Oh, this one's gonna be Fire, right? Why did I put Flying there? Yeah, then this is Stellar, and then this is Electric. So like again, relatively, you know, easy benchmarks that we want. Some of this is just already like basic 252s because of the sash and the choice items. But you know, just to kind of start, we can at least use this as a beginning point, right? And it was working relatively well. So let me show you some test games with this variant, and then we'll go with the Scarf variant, Miraidon, and the Life Orb Iron Treads in the next build. All right, so this was against a relatively interesting idea for the Miraidon Ice Rider. This guy has a King Gambit on his team. There's a reason why King Gambit isn't used all that much in regulationI. You know, the fighting weakness is too much, especially when you have a whole bunch of Urshifu running around. But we have all the tools that we have, you know, for a King Gambit if it does come here. Miraidon Ice Rider. So, you know, Pagos looks pretty good here. You know, we do want to also utilize our Incineroar if we need to, especially, you know, for fake out pressure. Yes, I understand Defied from Gambit is tough, but if you can just fake it out and go for a +1 Calm Mind, we can just take it out with Earth Power, and it should be like okay, right? Because King Gambit is actually looking pretty bad against us. So, you know, as we played, I will lead exactly that. So Pagos and Incin here to try and hope for the Calm Mind setup. He's going with his own Incin and Miraidon, right? So this is where that Covert Cloak would have probably came in handy as well, just because, you know, you yourself can get faked out, and then you get to fake out and whatnot. But anyway, it's fine. So whether he fakes out my Pagos or Incin, it's not going to matter because we're not going to take a whole lot of damage this turn. He actually fakes out my Incin, which is fine by me, but this is just also an easy Calm Mind setup. He actually goes for the Drift, and because we blew up his terrain, he doesn't get the KO there, so we can just easily Calm Mind here. And now we can just pivot into Iron Treads just in case he does that again. I know he's choice locked, and that's exactly what happens, right? And I just go for a second Calm Mind. I could have easily went for Earth Power there, but I wasn't comfortable with just one. I wanted a second one. He does go for the Party Shine to the Gambit, but it's fine. Drift again, and this time into Pagos. Does decent chip, but again, we have our ability, so we're fine. And there goes the Gambit, so that didn't work out for him, and that's a free Calm Mind for us. And now he goes into Calyrex instead of the Incineroar. Still good. Right, Electrojiff into our Pagos, but again, doing less damage because we have another Calm Mind boost. We take out Miraidon with the Treads. Again, that's why you have Treads on the team for the mirror matchup against him. And look how much damage the Glacial Lance does into the Calyrex. This is pretty much over now. Goes into Incin. All right, and that's okay. Like, he can fake out if he wants. Right, we're just going to protect Pagos here. He can fake out Treads and go for Lance if he wants to as well. He doesn't do that, but we missed the higher horsepower regardless. But he does go for the Lance. And the Treads does go down, but that's okay because, again, we have Miraidon coming in to finish the job. So all we have to do is just click the 2 nuke buttons and everything is okay. I wasn't sure if the Electrojiff would pick up the Calyrex in this range. So rather than, you know, go for Earth Power Instant and then drift into Calyrex, I wanted to at least just go Tera Starstorm just in case he did not die immediately. But this is fine. You know, he can't kill me anyway with the instant, so in the end it still works out and he has no choice but to give up, right? So Treads was really useful here, but so was our setup, you know, for the Terapagos there, and you can see how the boost was able to extend our longevity here. This one was another weird team here. I like everything here except the Scissor. I don't know what that's supposed to do. I understand the D-Knight, maybe going for like potential Tailwind ideas. Inner Focus can't be intimidated or fake out. So Dragonite has an interesting niche at this given moment. But I still like our chances here, especially when we have a Sinistcha for that Zamazenta. He's actually going to lead Dragonite Calyrex here. All right, I'm going to go Pagos and I'm going to go Instant yet again. All right, so this is fine because we can pressure the Calyrex to potentially Tera here. You know, maybe not wanted to take a knockoff here. There's the Inner Focus as revealed. So I'm going to Tera Stellar here. Let's see if we can bait the Calyrex. But he actually just protects. Smart play there, honestly, right? And then Stomping Tantrum does quite a bit of damage there. But we also do damage to him because of the Rocky Helmet. So Starstorm, not bad into there. And, of course, he protects the Calyrex. So good job there. He dreads my instant. I'm just going to switch into Miraidon here. I have to take the Stomping Tantrum, but it's still fine. He goes for Disable, but that's okay, right? Because I wasn't going for the same move here. Instead, I was going for the Calm Mind setup. So it was basically a free turn for my Pagos there, right? So here comes Chien-Pao here, all right? Psychic, he actually removes my Miraidon. So unfortunately, I didn't really position my Miraidon all that well, but I do get some good chip into the Calyrex at least, right? Where now he's below half. I get Fake Out back on my side here, all right? He goes Fake Out Chien-Pao, I'm sorry, Tera goes Chien-Pao. So that's going to be good for him. He can kill my instant if he wants with Sacred Sword, but he instead goes into the Pagos, which I think is a huge mistake, right? Because then that gives me another Calm Mind setup here. I'm going to go into Sinistcha. I'm going to heal myself back just in case he decides to go Sacred Sword into that slot. And he does, so that's a great switch. Again, the fighting coverage into the Ghost type, that's exactly what we want. And we remove the Calyrex, and that's really all we needed to do, right? Could have also just went Tera Stellar there, Tera Starstorm, but, you know, I went for Earth Power here, right? So Dragonite comes back in, protect again, right? And this is where the Trick Room really helps me, right? Because now I have the speed control in my favor. Goes for Wyguard, doesn't matter. I was never going for that. I respected it, right? I go for the Earth Power. It removes the Zamazenta, so +2 Earth Power is great. Aerial Ace doesn't remove the Sinistcha, which is kind of funny. Here comes Chien-Pao yet again. All right, so now Shadow Ball into Chien-Pao. We have Trick Room up. He didn't even go for any kind of Sucker Punch play. Tera Starstorm just cleans up everything, and that's all we need. So, right, so Trick Room, he let me set it up, right? And that gave Pagos the speed control it needed, and, you know, that's what let us win this game. Right? So Sinistcha able to come through here. Okay, this is almost like one of those hard Trick Room ideas here. He's got Instant Rillaboom with Lunala and Calyrex here. He's got Lunala and Ursaluna. So Wide Guard and Earthquake is an idea. I would imagine it might be Calm Mind Lunala though, right? Or something, because he's got both the Fake Out boys here. And I do see Furgraph there, which is going to be good against us, but not all that much. Because again, we don't have to always go for Fake Out. We can always pressure with Knockoff from the Instant. And I just think with the defense boost that we're getting into Pagos, we can actually outbulk everything he has here. Because he's got a lot of Pokemon weak to Intimidate. Instant Rillaboom and Ursaluna in particular, and then Lunala susceptible to the Dark move as well. So I think this is very favorable for us. So he's going to leave Furgraph and Calyrex here. That's totally fine. I'm never going for Fake Out here anyway. I'd rather pressure with something like Will-O-Wisp into the Calyrex. And then this is just also Calm Mind from my Pagos, right? So yeah, he tears the Furgraph anyway. That I was very shocked about that, which is good news for us, right? So that means no Tera for his Lunala or Calyrex potentially in the back. He protects, goes for Trick Room there. That's okay. Right, so now I just go Terapagos here. We're +1. We can try kind of do some damage here. We live the high horsepower. Calyrex, it's not doing a whole lot there. D-Gleam Instant survives because Instant is a goat. We Will-O-Wisp the Calyrex. We got the burn that we need. Okay, and now we just Tera Starstorm. Goodbye Furgraph. Nice Tera there, guy. All right, so now Calyrex is less than half. All right, Sinistcha we can pivot out if we have to. He goes with his own Instant, and that's fine by us, right? Because now we can just go into Sinistcha here, get our healing back. He goes for Fake Out into my own Pagos. Smart play there, right? Glacial Lance there. That's okay. I could have also protected Pagos, if anything, but I wanted to be more aggressive with the Tera Starstorm in case he didn't fake me out there. So I'm just going to protect Sinistcha here. This is where Protect becomes relatively clutch. I survive, right? Flare Blitz, same thing. We live. All right, once again, Tera Starstorm, goodbye Calyrex, right? So there's the big hitter. It's gone. We burned it and we killed it. Now he just has Ursaluna. So no Lunala here. Now, at this time, Incineroar had Blaze. I didn't have Intimidate, so the Intimidate didn't work here. But it doesn't matter, right? Because Facade comes out there. He knocks off my Instant. That's okay, right? Pagos is now going to have full speed on everything else. His Trick Room is out, which means his time has run out. I'm just going to go into Sinistcha here. Again, more healing, right? This is also very easy. Just Rage Powder. Right, Tera Starstorm again, redirect whatever he has on the Ursaluna, whether it be Headlong Rush or Facade. There it is, right? So he can't even hit me. The ghost typing is so good. I just go back into Miraidon for the memes, right? And then once again, we outspeed. We just click Tera Starstorm, and that's it for Ursaluna. So yeah, even though we didn't have Intimidate on the instant, right? All it took was just to burn the Calyrex, set up the Calm Mind on the Pagos. We got healing from the Sinistcha. The team was not able to be broken. And look at the win con. We had Miraidon in the back just waiting for him, you know, when Trick Room was gone. And then we would just clean up there. But that's how we really want to play this, right? And if anything, if we needed the defense boost, right, that's where the Miraidon slot would have come in handy, because then we get +1. We preserve, you know, stuff like Incineroar and Sinistcha for later if we have to. And the Pagos, you know, is still, you know, with the sped up boost and that defense boost, it's hard to break him. All right, another weird gimmick team here. He's got Zacian. It's some Zacian rain team here with the Terapagos. I've never seen that combo before. Don't play that. So again, not a very optimal team here, but again, we still make very similar plays that we would against, like, you know, the more traditional archetypes. I'm just trying to show you how to, you know, get that position and go for those plays. But here we go. Pagos Instant again. Okay, looking for the fake out Calm Mind idea. Now he could taunt me on the Tornadoes, which is something you have to be aware of, which is fine. We're gonna test him, right? Of course, if you're in a best of 3 of open T-sheet, you can take a look there. I'm just gonna fake out the Zacian here, and that's good, right? So he actually just goes Bleak Wind, no taunt at all. So that means that's a free Calm Mind for us, which is okay here. And now what we can do is he goes Terrifying Zacian. Actually, I'm just gonna protect Pagos here, right? He goes for Glory for the CC. I thought he might go for Instant. I wanted the free switch, but he didn't do it. All right, and now he just goes for another Bleak Wind. I get off the Parting Shot, could have even burned him, but I go into my Sinistcha for the position. There is the pivot I was talking about with the Parting Shot and the Sinistcha synergy. Goes into his own Pagos, so goodbye Zacian, right? And now, you know, this is, again, going, I'm trying to Intimidate cycle him, but yeah, we Tera Stellar now. Okay, we're +1, Bleak Wind again. He kills my Instant, which, so not great, but again, Tera Starstorm, big damage here. Right, and we don't kill the Tornadoes. That's okay, right? Because now we can still go back into Sinistcha, get back our healing, right? And this is where the Trick Room comes into play yet again here, right? So Icy Wind, thank you for reducing my speed, because once again, he already teared the Zacian, so I know he can't tear the Pagos, right? So that means my Sinistcha is always just gonna live here, and we get up Trick Room. You made me slower. Thank you for doing that. And he has Kingdra. I don't know what he's supposed to do here, so I'm just going to go into Miraidon. I just want to extend my longevity here. I could have even protected here. I just went for another Calm Mind here just to outlast, you know, his attacks, right? I could have even just attacked already, right, and just get rid of everything. So a bit risky on my end, right? I'm just trying to nuke things and just get back in position with Sinistcha here, right? Dragon Pulse, again, can't even kill Miraidon. Kingdra is so bad, and we have the AV anyway, so we remove the Pagos here. 2 turns of Trick Room left, right? Zacian's still there. We go into Sinistcha, get a little bit more healing. All right, Starstorm comes out. Goodbye, Zacian. And that's really all there is to it, right? So again, the pivoting with the Sinistcha, the Instant, right? This, and again, setting up Trick Room, right? This is what's winning us these games. All right, so now I'm going to show you the same variant of this 6, but I'm going to change up the items and the sets a little bit. So this way, that'll also affect how the team plays a little bit. So instead of AV Miraidon, I'm going to go with the Choice Scarf here. All right, so let's play the Miraidon a little bit faster. We'll keep the move sets the same. The Pagos essentially stays the same. We're not going to do anything there. Sinistcha, instead of the Sash, let's go bulkier here. We can put the Rocky Helmet here, okay? And then, you know, we'll probably either go like Terra Fire, Terra Fairy. Either way, I think it's okay. You can go Terra Fairy on this, but if you like Fire, that's also okay. We'll change the EVs here as well. And the Incineroar, we'll go Assault Vest instead. All right, and yeah, we can even just leave these EVs as it is, if anything, right? Actually, let me make a small change here. Let's go like this. Let's go go 76 here, right? And then that will be like okay, and then just one more point here. Yeah, this is okay. I want to keep that even number there. I want to live the Miraidon Draco Meteor attack there. That's the whole point there with that EV set there. All right, Urshifu. Here we can go choice band, right? Because we took up the scarf, so we're gonna switch to the band. You can even go Sasher or Mystic Water if you want. I just want a little bit more damage with the band. And then over here we can go Life Orb, right? And then just have Protect on this side, and we'll make some adjustments to these EVs as well, right? So with Miraidon, here's what we're gonna do. We want to just at least go for a simple speed, right? We'll go for, again, I want to like, well, who do I want here? Yeah, 174. At least be faster than my own Iron Treads or like another Iron Treads here. Yeah, so I think 174 is like pretty good. Then we'll still go for, again, that 212 investment here, getting to a nice solid 200 attack, right? And then after this, 1 point in the Spit Def, and then we can go for the Rillaboom number, 192, and then just put these last 2 points here into defense, right? Very simple Miraidon set, all right? Just to outspeed another Iron Treads, potentially maybe kill it with a Draco Meteor, who knows? But I think just being able to outspeed that was fine. And with these Miraidons, I still want to outspeed, the Scarf Landorus, the Scarf Chiyu. So again, this does all of that as well. Obviously, you don't need as much investment. You just need to go maybe right here, if anything. But I just wanted to try and go for the Treads benchmark as well. All right, so Sinistcha. So with the Rocky Helmet set, all right, we can actually go Bold Nature here, or you can go Relax, whichever one you want to try. I think, again, 176, that Rillaboom number, going 204 investment also over here. This is good for the Glacial Land stuff. That's all I need, and then just dump the rest here into Special Defense. So good job, Sinistcha. All right, Incin, we already discussed. Urshifu. So here, same thing. I can keep going Adamant, 252 here, but the one thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go 20 speed. All right. Oh, by the way, with Sinistcha, yeah, we don't necessarily need to go for Protector. We can also go something else. It's Rage Powder, Shadow Ball, Trick Room. We could even go Matcha Gotcha if you want another attack here. We could even do that. Otherwise, if you still want to go Protect on this thing, you can definitely do that. But yeah, anyway, Iron Treads / Urshifu here. So with the Ursh, we can go slow. I think 120 is okay. This is at least faster than Pelipper's, for that matter, and most of the Rillabooms that are running around. And that's really all I need. So I think, once again, we'll go 192 investment here. Maybe just 1 point here in defense and dump the rest here into Spit Up, right? Some special defense bulk is much appreciated there. All right, and then with the Treads here, a little bit of Life Orb optimization, right? We'll go and push this to a 9, right? And then just put 1 more point into each of the bulk stats there, and that's it, right? Remember, with the Life Orb, you always want to go with the 9, right? So this way, it'll reduce the amount of chip damage you'll take by 1 point, right? So instead of doing this, for example, if I had 170, right? 170 divided by 10 is 17. I'm going to be taking 17 points of Life Orb chip damage. But if I undercut the threshold by 1 like this, 169, right? 16.9 does not round out to 17 damage per turn. It rounds back down to 16. So this is the highest amount of HP I can get before I break the threshold here, right? So 169, 179, 189, 199, 209. These are all good starting points for a Life Orb optimization for your HP value. Okay. That's it. And then Sinistcha, like I said, we made this super bulky for the caloric stuff, and even Bleak Wind Tornado stuff too. All right, Pago stays the same, and Miraidon, like I said, we're just meant to outspeed another Iron Treads here, but still having the same special attack stats. Bug, Stellar. Oh yeah, right here, Urshifu. So you can put Aqua Jet yet again, right? I think that's fine. Jet Banded Jet is also really good, and Stone Edge and Protect here, right? So we have Protect here, we got Protect here, and then the rest of the team doesn't have Protect, right? So 2 Protects, but that's still okay. This is how the team functions, right? So we'll get this up on the board here. The one thing I will do, with the AV Incin that I forgot to change here, right, as I'm building the team, is get rid of this stuff. So we'll have Flare Blitz, and we'll also have Knockoff over here, right? We've got Intimidate, right? So yeah, so this is the second variant, okay? And we'll also go over both, towards the end of the video. But again, it's going to be different, right? Because now we know the Miraidon can outspeed faster threats like a Calyrex, right? So, we can just go for broke if we have to. right? Sinistcha is bulkier. We also have Matcha Gotcha now, more healing, right? No Sash, but that's okay. We have Terapagos here, same set. Incin now has U-turn. That's knockoff twice. Hello. All right, there we go. That's the right pace. All right, here we go. Yeah, so there's the U-turn. All right, we have Jet back on Incin, and then Iron Treads here again with Protect now. High horsepower Steel Roller, of course, and then the occasional Stone Edge if you run into those Volcarona matchups there. So let's try this in a couple of test games, and let's wrap it up. All right, this one, he's got the deadly paint dog here. He's got the double genie idea with Miraidon and Calyrex Ice Rider. Very interesting kind of idea. And he's got the dark Urshifu, by the way. So, we have to be careful, for the Sinistcha and our Terapagos here. But I decided to, play it a little bit differently. Let's go Miraidon Iron Treads as a lead here. Let me see what he's got here. There's the Calyrex and there is the Tornadus. This is good for us. We can pressure either of these slots here, maybe force out a potential Tera, right? Which can help us later for the Pagos. He actually goes Tera Water Calyrex. That's good by us. Tailwind comes out. That's fine. Volt Switch. Goodbye Tornadus. No Sash there. We're going to pivot out our Miraidon into Instant just in case he goes for Glacial Lance. And he Terra'd the Calyrex, right? So Stone Edge is not going to do as much as it should, right? But that's fine. There's the Lance. We can take it, okay? And he's got his Tailwind up. There's the Urshifu. Oh, it's actually just a water one, right? It just on Showdown shows it as the dark one, right? So there we go. High horsepower, a little bit more damage. If he kills the Iron Treads now, it's okay. It's not the biggest thing. I just wanted to fake out and get some damage. He actually misses the high horsepower. That's huge for us. All right, so we remove the Urshifu, right? So he's actually relatively slow, even though he's got Tailwind there. All right, so there's another Glacial Lance. Okay, I'm actually surprised he was slower, right? But again, I just wanted to get the switch. I'm going to U-turn out and go into Pagos here, and that's what I want. Okay, and now, because I click U-turn on the Incin, that means I can go back into Incin, and I can click Fake Out and still be okay on this last turn of Tailwind here, right? So I got the defense boost on Pagos, so I'm not really afraid. I just got to set up my Calm Minds here, right? Glacial Lance, it's not a big deal, right? We eat that easily, even though he's +1. And there is our Calm Mind set over. So now we can wall out both of these options here, right? Tailwind is gone. I'm going to Tera now, blow up Miraidon Terrain, do really big damage into Calyrex because he Tera'd this thing from the first turn. He kills the Instant. That's okay. I needed him to, commit the attack here. Tera starts and removes the Calyrex. That's okay. Now it's just his own Miraidon. And now we have the faster Miraidon. This is what I wanted. I wanted the free switch so I can go into our Scarf Miraidon, which, again, cleans up in the endgame. This is what I'm saying, right? You have Pagos and friends, and you force them to Tera and commit resources, and then in the end you have your own Miraidon in the back to finish things off after they've lost, the key things, right? So the big thing was removing the Calyrex, which threatened the Miraidon, right? Because I know my Miraidon can beat his Miraidon because I have the Scarf, he doesn't. Okay, and all I had to do was just make sure that he committed that Tera in the beginning, which meant he was weak to my own Pagos. And once the Pagos beat his Calyrex, I knew I had won because my Miraidon will always beat his Miraidon in that endgame. All right, another Lunala Calyrex team here. This one he only had 4, right? In my opinion, just slap on a couple other options here. Put a Smeargle on this, right? Might as well, and then give me an Indeedee, right? Go for the Heart Trick Room idea. At least put something. Don't just test 4. I never like this. Oh, I'm just gonna go into ladder with these 4 mons and test how they feel. No, I think that's gonna give you inaccurate information. I think you should always at least try for 6, even if the last 2 slots are not optimal. I still think you should always start with 6. You don't want to do it 4. But anyway, he has this, so I can already predict what kind of lead he might do. Right, so I'm just gonna go Instant Urshifu just in case he leads his own Instant, right? Lunala and Instant was what I thought he might do, or Instant plus Calyrex. Ideally, right? So he can only fake out one of these things. He goes into Calyrex now, but that's okay, right? So in the end, he protects his Calyrex. That's fine. I go Surging Strikes into the Lunala. I end up being faster, which is good. I break his Shadow Shield easily. That definitely is a 2-hit KO, but again, he didn't even Tera, so there's the knockoff Goodbye Lunala, right? So 1 restricted is gone off the bat. Instant comes in yet again. That's okay, right? He only fake out 1. Again, he goes for the Urshifu instead. It's Tera Ground Calyrex. That's fine, right? Knockoff comes out. We remove the weakness policy, so he's running some gimmick team on his Calyrex there. I don't know what he was doing, right? But there's another Glacial Lance. Again, Surging Strikes. You just went for Tera Ground in front of my Urshifu, right? So I don't know what he was expecting there. He goes for a Parting Shot, but what are you Parting Shot into, right? So that's it. He just easily forfeit there. So Urshifu ends up carrying this, just Banded Surging Strikes is so strong, right? You break Shadow Shield, you get it down to less than half. It's a 2-hit KO, And, you know, this guy just didn't really play well, you know, with just 4 Mons. Oh, I remember this game. I like this one. So this one was Kyogre Calyrex with, you know, speed options like Tornadus yet again. So I'm going to go simple, straightforward here. Terapagos, if he has Tornadus, which he does, okay, do you taunt this time, right? Remember the last one did not. So let's see what he decides to do. Okay, I can fake out one slot. I just want to fake out the Kyogre here and just get a little bit chip damage. There's the taunt. Okay, so confirm there. Maybe not Icy Wind, who knows? But anyway, this is still okay. I just don't want to lose the Insignia. I'm going to go into Miraidon first. All right. Get my defense boost, which doesn't matter. Spout is going to do a decent amount of chip damage here, right? But not a whole lot. There's Weather Ball. Again, we resist that because, again, it's just a weather attack. Tera Starstorm does a lot there into Kyogre. I didn't need to Tera it yet, but he goes back into Urshifu, right? And this is actually the Dark Fu. I'm going to actually pivot the other slot here and get healing on my Miraidon instead, right? I'm going to go Volt Switch. He actually has a Sash on this one. I actually thought it would be the Flutter Mane. Otherwise, I would have just faked out this thing because I thought it would be Cobra Claw. So that makes me think it's probably Booster Flutter if he did bring it. Right, Bleak Wind comes out, we live, right? Sinistcha super bulky, Wicked Blow comes out there. Thank you for your sacrifice, Sinistcha. There's the chip damage from the Rocky Helmet. We get a Calm Mind there. All right, now we go into Incin here. Okay, this is also relatively free. Now we go Pagos, right? We changed weather, we blow up terrain. Okay, he can do it again next turn with his Kyogre, but that's fine. All right, Weather Ball again into Incin. It's fine. I just need to put pressure here with the Tera Starstorm and remove the Urshifu. And that's exactly what happened there. So, yeah, swapping a Kyogre would have been risky because, again, he's going to take damage here. So, Calyrex Kyogre here. Again, this is also fine. Pagos can kind of wall these guys out too. We force the Tera into the Calyrex. I just want to protect. I want to get the free switch. I don't want to die on the last turn of Tailwind, right? Incin actually survives. Thank you, AV, right? But Calyrex goes for Draining Kick, so now he's +1 there. So, unfortunate there. But, again, Tailwind is gone. I've got Scarf Miraidon here. I can outspeed the Calyrex. I'm okay here, right? I nuke the Calyrex. I know that picks up, and the Pagos is just free to kill the Kyogre here. And, you know, I have the +1 Smith F. Pagos is just able to take the Kyogre hit, even in the rain, and that was it. So, again, Calm Mind was really good against 2 special attackers, but, you know, what really won me this game, again, was just being able to set up, you know, thank you to Sinistcha with redirection support. I didn't click to click Trick Room, didn't matter. He taunted me, right? And, you know, I'm playing best of one ladder. I have no way of knowing he has taunt or not. I have to just test it and see if he does. But if, you know, he had the Sash, right? Rather than Covert Cloak. Otherwise, you know, I still make that same play because I don't want to take the water damage from Kyogre anyway. So I still always just fake out that slot rather than the Tornado slot. Because Tornado is not really going to do that much damage there, right? So even if he taunts me, it's not the end of the world, right? So it was okay. All right, so let's put the squads back together side by side. So this was the Scarf variant that we just built here. So again, the Miraidon able to outspeed another Iron Treads, which means you're naturally going to outspeed the Scarf Chiyus and the Scarf Landorses. The Pagos spread doesn't really change no matter what. It's just meant for that Urshifu calc. If you've taken a little bit of chip, right, where you don't have your ability again. Sinistcha, this one is a bulkier variant, not the Sash set. It's bold. Again, meant for the Glacial Land stuff. And then Incineroar here. Standard Impish set that's meant to take the Draco Meteor from a Miraidon there. Slow Urshifu, but still Adamant 252 there. Alright, and then the Iron Treads is Life Orb with Protect, same speed, Jolly 252. And over here, same thing, again, Iron Treads, Jolly 252. This time we didn't need any Life Orb optimization. And I actually switched out, I put Iron Head on this one, right? As opposed to like Knockoff. I think having another Steel move besides the Steel Whirler is like okay. So you don't really need Knockoff or a redundant attack. You know, with the Iron Treads, you know, with the Instant. You can do that if you want, but I think it was just better if I had another Steel move there. Okay, Urshifu here. Straight up 252, 252. Rain Dance there. Again, more useful for the Miraidon matchup. You can definitely switch that out for U-turn, but I think when you need it, you can use it. Otherwise, just keep clicking the other moves there. Otherwise, you feel free to use like the Mystic Water Taunt variant. I think that's also good. Instant, more or less the same spread. And this time, you know, with Parting Shot and Will-O-Wisp. This is a Sash Sinistcha, right? We don't need to go like complex spreads there. We have a Sash. The Pagos is still the same. And Miraidon this time slower, right? With the AV, but still modest 212. Again, you know what our defensive calcs are. It's just meant for the Adamant 36 Glacial Lands for the Calyrex and even like +3 from a Calyrex Shadow Rider with a life form boost there. Okay, so yeah, 2 different again, same 6, just different sets on the squad there. So you know, feel free to test these out and give it a go. So this way you have like a decent starting point. You can make adjustments accordingly, but hopefully I gave you some ideas and some things to think about when you're trying to use this archetype. So yeah, let me know what you think of Miraidon, Terapagos, and Sinistcha. And if you still need team building help yourself, you know, for example, maybe you're going to Worlds is you know, a month away now, right? If you still got in-person tournaments, you know, maybe around your area, and you still need to prepare for that, feel free to reach out for coaching on the channel. Tier 3 sub gets you a one-on-one coaching session with me, all right, where we can build squads from scratch just like this. Otherwise, if you just need help, you know, not only, you know, just with team building, but also maybe your battles, you want me to take a look at that, that's a tier 4 sub to the channel. Same link, you know, that you can click, just tier 4, right, instead of tier 3, right? You feel free to join the Discord for free. Again, we're just under 1,200 members. We're still continuing to grow our VGC community relatively well. All right, that's it for now, folks. We'll be back with another video in the next one. Peace out and have a good one.